Now we'll see segmentation with paging. The idea behind segmentation with paging is to combine the advantages of both paging and segmentation. The advantage of paging is it has uniform page size, and the advantage of segmentation is it provides protection and sharing. In this scheme, each segment is divided into a number of pages. Page table is maintained for each segment. The logical address contains segment number, page size and page offset. Each entry of this segment table contains segment base, segment limit and address of the segment's page table. Okay, now we will see how the logical address is getting converted into physical address. Okay, so here CPU will generate the logical address which has S, P, and D. And first thing what we will do is what system does is it compares whether S is in particular limit or not. Okay, which is compared here. STLR gives you that value, that is segment table limit register. If it is in the limit, then only, if it is yes, okay, then only it is getting added with the base address, and the base address is coming from where? It is coming from SDBR, that is segment table base register. If it is not in limit, then the error will be generated and the control will go to the operating system. Okay, so when it is in the limit, we are going to add the base address and we will get a segment number, and the segment number is stored where? It is stored in the segment table. Now the segment table has three things in this: size, access and base address. So with the help of this size, we are going to compare here. Okay, we are going to compare this page size whether it is in the limit. Okay, if it is not, then the error is generated and this control will go to the operating system. If it is within the limit, okay, what we are going to check is whether that particular page is accessible or not. Okay, whether it is accessible. If it is not accessible, again the error will be generated and control will go to the operating system. Okay, it will go to operating system. If it is true, then what will happen? The base address will be added and we will get a particular page number in the page table. Okay, and from the page table we'll get a corresponding frame number for that particular page number, and this is how we will get a physical address of a main memory. So this is how the entire system works. Now we'll see paging with segmentation. Here what we do is the logical address page, that is secondary memory, is divided into segments: segment 0, segment 1, segment 2. I have shown here 3 segments, and each segment is divided into number of pages. Okay, so here segment 0 has 2 pages, page 0, page 1. Similarly segment 1 will have 3 pages, 0, 1, 2. Segment 2 has 6 pages, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, so this is your secondary memory. This is your secondary memory. Okay, also known as logical address space. And this is your main memory, that is a primary memory. So always in primary memory, first is operating system, which is stored at frame number 0. Okay, now here I have shown frame number 0 as operating system. And there are different segments and different page number. Right now I have taken only one example of segment 1. Okay, so here you can see that there is one segment table and there is page table 1. So now what is this page table 1? This page table 1 is for segment 1. Okay, so page table 1 for segment 1 is stored in frame 30 in main memory. Okay, from where you will get this information? Here you can see in segment table there are segment numbers 0, 1 and 2, and 1 is stored where? 1 is stored in the frame number 30. So where is this frame number 30? It's a page table. Okay, at the frame number 30 there is a page table 1. Why 1? Because segment 1. Okay, so for segment 1 page table 1 is stored in frame number 30. Now you can see that frame number 30 has 3 pages, 0, 1, 2. Page number 0 is stored in frame number 50. So now you can see that segment 1, that is segment 1, okay, page number 0, segment 1, page number 0 is stored where? It is stored in frame number 15, which is which we'll get from page table. Now second is what? Segment 1, okay, page number 1 is stored in frame number 1. Now you can see segment 1, page number 1 is stored in frame number 1. Okay. Now segment 1, page number 2 is stored in frame number 150. Okay. So where it is stored? It's here. Segment 1, page number 2 is stored in frame number 150. Okay. So this is how it works. So each segment will have its own page table. Okay. And which is stored in main memory. Now we'll see what is swapping. In multiprogramming, a memory management scheme called swapping can be used to increase the CPU utilization. The process of bringing a process to memory and after running for a while, temporarily copying it to the disk, that is a hard disk, is known as swapping. So here in the figure, the swapping process is shown. The process is brought into the main memory from the hard disk and stored in main memory, processed it, executed it, and again sent back to the hard disk. So bringing in the process in main memory is known as swapped in, and sending it back to the hard disk is known as swapped out. The decision as to which process is to be swapped in and which to be swapped out is made by the CPU scheduler. For example, consider a multiprogramming environment with priority-based scheduling algorithm. When a process of high priority enters the input queue, a process of low priority is swapped out so that the process of high priority can be loaded and executed. On the termination of this process, the process of low priority is swapped back in the main memory to continue its execution. Now we'll see what is the concept of virtual memory. Okay, what is the meaning of virtual, which is not physically present? Okay, it's a concept. So there are two significance of virtual memory. First, it provides the illusion to a programmer that a process whose size is larger than the size of main memory can also be executed. Means it gives illusion to the user that main memory is equal to secondary memory. But is it true? No, because secondary memory size is much more than main memory. But why we are saying this? Because we are bringing part of the process every time from the secondary memory to main memory and utilizing the main memory. So user feels that there is a main memory whose size is equal to secondary memory, but it is not true. It's an illusion. Okay. Second significance is degree of multiprogramming. More and more processes should come in the main memory. Okay, how to bring maximum processes in the main memory when the size of main memory is limited? This is also an illusion provided by virtual memory. So here you can see this is the secondary memory having different processes. Okay, P1, P2, P3 having different pages. Okay, I've shown here the equal number of pages, but each process can have different number of pages, and this is main memory. Okay, so main memory, as usual, I have shown the operating system you have to show, and here you can see that there are different pages of processes. I have also mentioned the process number P1 here and the corresponding page. Okay, so what system is doing every time? It is swapped in and swapping in and swapping out. Just now I told you what is swap in and swap out, right? So whenever it is required to bring process P1, okay, in the main memory, it is brought into the main memory, and then whatever is not required, it is sent back to the hard disk. So this is how we are using the main memory properly for proper utilization of the entire system. Okay, so that's it for virtual memory. So now you know what is swapping in and swapping out. Swapping in brings the page in main memory and swapping out removes the page from main memory.
So to do this, there are different strategies. Okay, those algorithm we'll see later on, which are known as page replacement policies, that we will see later on in detail. Okay, now there is one more concept called as the term. Okay, demand paging. So what is this demand paging? Just now what I told is whenever it is required by the CPU, okay, that time only we are going to bring the page from secondary memory to main memory, right? So this is called as a demand paging. We are at a time we are not going to bring all the pages from secondary memory to the main memory, but what we are going to do is, what the system is doing, system is going to bring whatever page is required. Suppose page 1 is required, that time only page 1 will be brought in main memory, and whenever p1 is not required, it is sent back to the secondary memory. So this concept is called as demand paging. Okay, now the how it is done, like only the required pages are brought into the main memory from the secondary memory, and it depends upon which from which locations to be brought. Okay, that is called as locality of reference. Okay, locality of reference. So what is this locality of reference? Locality of reference refers to the tendency of the computer program to access instructions whose addresses are near to each other. Okay, so depending upon the locations, it will bring the pages in advance to main memory. Okay, why I'm saying in advance? Suppose there is p1, p2, p3. Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, if they are nearby, okay, they are located in the secondary memory nearby, so computer CPU will assume that after the use of p1 he may require p2 and p3. Okay, so the system will bring all p1, p2, p3 in main memory if the space is available. Okay, and then it will start processing. So this is how it works. Now whenever the CPU asks for a particular page, okay, suppose CPU wants to access a page P1. Okay, so if it is found, if the match is found in main memory, okay, if the match is found in main memory, what will happen? CPU will get access of P1. But if P1 is not present, if CPU wants P4, okay, and P4 is not found in main memory, so what will happen next? Okay, so this is called as page fault. Okay, whenever the match is there, match found is a hit. Okay, and when match is not found, match not found, it is called as a miss or a page fault. Okay, so in this case, whenever there is no match in the main memory, what will happen? That we'll see. So what I told you just now, page demand will have two things. If found, it's a hit. Not found, it's a miss. Okay, so if the page is not found in page table, what will happen next? The trap is generated, error signal, and the control will go to the operating system. Okay, so this is called as context switching. Okay, context switching will happen and the control will go to the operating system. Okay, so after operating system, what operating system will do? It will do the authentication for security check, and then it will get the page. It will get the required page from secondary memory. Okay, and copy it to the main memory. After that, what will happen? It will update the page table entry. Okay, and after that again context switching will happen, and control will go to the CPU to do the remaining operation. So this is how it works. Okay.
Now we'll see how to calculate effective memory access time. So I will once again explain you the entire procedure. Okay, whenever CPU wants to access a particular page from main memory, it will search in the page table of that respective process. So for example, here I have shown a page table of process 1. Okay, so process 1 page table in process 1, uh, in the first entry, okay, what is stored here? F1. F1 is what? A frame 1 of main memory. So when CPU wants to access page 0 of P1, it will search in page table. If the entry is found, okay, it will go to the main memory and fetch that particular page. So it's a hit. Okay, it's a hit. The match is found. Now in the second case, if CPU wants to access a page 1 of process 1, okay, so here the match is not found. So what will happen when the match is not found? The trap will be generated as explained before. The context switching will happen. The control will go to operating system. Okay, then operating system, after authentication, what will happen? It will go to the secondary memory to fetch that particular page. Here it is page number 1 for process 1, and that is brought it in the main memory, right? And at the same time, it has to update the frame in page table. So here instead of 0, you can write here frame number 7. Okay, so this entire operation takes time. Okay, and after this F7, I think after updating the page table, okay, the context switching will happen and the control will go to CPU. Okay, so CPU, generally we say that the context switching happen between user, operating system and user. Now here user is CPU. Okay, so initially the control was with CPU, then after trap it went to OS, then after OS it will again came back to CPU. Okay, now here I have shown the formula effective memory access time. P, here P is the probability of occurring the page fault. Okay, it's a probability of occurring page fault. So P times P times the page fault is occurring, or P is the probability of the page fault. So we have to service the page fault P times. Okay, so page fault service time. So whenever the page fault occurs, the entire procedure, what is the procedure? The context switching will happen, then OS will go to secondary memory, then from secondary memory it will fetch the page and copy it into the main memory, and after that it will update the page table. Okay, so this requires a considerable amount of time, that is called as page fault service time. Okay, generally it is in milliseconds. Okay, generally it is in milliseconds, and then what we have to add is 1 minus p. So what is 1 minus p? It's a head, right? This is for miss. Whenever there is no match found, this time is required to fetch the page from secondary memory to main memory and to update the page table. Okay. For remaining amount of time, means whenever there is match, only the time is required to access the main memory. Okay, so that's why it is written here 1 minus p into memory access time. So this memory access time is generally in terms of nanoseconds. Okay, plus memory access time. Now what is this memory access time? Even if you bring the content from secondary memory, copy it into the main memory and update the page table, okay, after that also CPU has to search for that particular page from the main memory. For that you require this memory access time, and this is very negligible, okay, compared to page fault service time. So this is how you can calculate the effective memory access time. So more programs can run concurrently using virtual memory concept, and virtual memory has nothing to do with the hardware. It's a concept of operating system and program model.